Well, hello there, friends. Today we've got a bit of a science experiment. You're joining me in the woods here, which is basically just my backyard. We're gonna be doing a little test between the iPhone 15 and its new satellite messaging feature and the Garmin InReach Messenger, or InReach Mini 2, or basically just any InReach. How do they compare? We're gonna go through it today. If you missed it, a couple of months ago at Apple's WWDC event, they announced a brand new feature for the iPhone 15. Actually, it goes back to the iPhone 14 as well, where you can actually send recreational messages via Apple messaging or SMS or even RCS to friends and family via satellite without being near a cell phone tower. After the announcement about this new feature by Apple, I posted a video on YouTube titled something like, iOS 18 just killed your Garmin InReach. And yes, that was a pretty dramatic title, but that video got like 200,000 views in just a couple of weeks. So obviously people seem to care about this topic, and that's why I'm following up with this video today. So what we're gonna do today is run through the pros and cons of Apple satellite messaging, how it works, how my experience has been with it so far, and I'll be doing a live demonstration here in the woods with my iPhones and comparing it to the Garmin InReach to see how they stack up against each other. So ever since this feature was announced, I've been testing it out myself in a lot of real-world situations. In fact, a few weeks ago, I ran a 100-mile-long ultramarathon in a super rural area of Vermont where there's literally no cell phone reception. And during that race, I needed to communicate with my crew who had supplies for me and they were following me along the way to let them know what mile I was at and what was going on with me, if I was feeling okay. So I was sending them messages back and forth using this new feature on iOS 18. But I also had my Garmin InReach, and it was a good thing I had it, and I'll explain why later in this video. So this feature is for non-emergency situations. This is not for calling for help when you've got a broken leg on top of a mountain. This is really for, when you're setting up camp, you're on a thru hike and you want to text your friends and family and say, hey, I'm setting up my tent. This is not for emergency purposes. The SOS over satellite feature is, and that's a whole different can of worms and a whole different topic. But in this video, we're talking just recreational purposes, sending messages, not a life-threatening situation. So don't yell at me in the comments down below because you've already done that in past videos. Now, at the time of filming this video, this feature is still in beta. So just keep that in mind. This is not fully done. It's not fully cooked, and you probably shouldn't install it, even though I have. And by the time this rolls out to all iPhones, it might look and feel different. So just keep that in mind as we go through this video. So Apple's satellite messaging service relies on a satellite network called Globalstar. And Globalstar is not new. They've been around for a long time, and they've actually been used by other manufacturers like Spot with their Spot Gen 3 and Spot X devices that are satellite communicators. Now, unfortunately, at the time of filming this video, there is still one big limitation of Apple's satellite messaging feature, even though it does use Globalstar, and that currently it is only available in the United States. I do suspect that will change over time, because if we go back in time and look at the satellite SOS feature by Apple, that feature is now available in like 16 different countries. And there is one more thing we need to talk about with Apple's satellite messaging service, and that's the price. Because at the time of filming this video, this service under beta is actually free. And Apple is saying that with the purchase of any new iPhone, you're gonna get 2 years of service for free included in the price of your phone, which is pretty cool. Now, the scary part with that whole thing is after that 2 years, the price is unknown. And now that we've talked about Apple's satellite messaging features, let's talk about the Garmin InReach, because this device is very different. As you can see, this is a physical device that I'm holding in my hand. This device here is called the Garmin InReach Messenger, and it retails, I think, for 350 bucks. Then there's the Garmin InReach Mini 2, and that one's like 250 bucks. The cool thing about a Garmin InReach is that it is a physical piece of hardware, so it does provide a little bit of redundancy instead of just having your phone on you. That's just one device. Now you've got two devices that can both send and receive messages. This InReach Messenger here does have some physical buttons on the front here, and you can actually send messages directly from the device without using your phone at all. Another benefit to the Garmin InReach is that it has a physical SOS button, and I know we're not talking about emergency situations here, but this is nice to have. If you've got this accessible and it's, clipped to your pack or something like that, you simply open up this flap, and if you hold that button down for a few seconds, help will be on the way. That's going to send a message to Garmin's dispatch center. they're gonna get in contact with local enforcement or Fish and Game or whatever, and they'll come out and look for you. And most Garmin InReach devices also have a little display on the front here. And this little display allows you to read incoming messages. You can also send messages from this display. You can use it for some basic navigation, and you can get weather updates over satellite directly to the device. The Garmin InReach is also a global device. You can use this InReach device anywhere in the world. And another benefit to the Garmin InReach is that they use a satellite network called Iridium. But there is another downside to this device, and it's the subscription. You do have to subscribe to the InReach service, and that service costs anywhere between $12 for 10 messages a month or something like that, all the way up to $65 for unlimited messaging. All right, now that we've explained everything, let's get down to brass tacks and do a live demonstration of Apple's satellite messaging feature. So I am currently screen recording on both of these iPhones. I've got the 15 Pro and the 15. Now my iPhone 15 Pro here does have LTE enabled and Wi-Fi. My iPhone 15 here, I've tricked into thinking that it does not have service. And this is one of the biggest quirks of Apple's messaging service. If you want to use Apple's satellite messenger, you cannot have any form of connection. You can't have Wi-Fi, and you can't be on a cellular connection. And you might be thinking you can just turn them off. No, they're smarter than that. If you toggle cellular or Wi-Fi off, it won't give you the satellite option at all. It says SOS because I've got no cellular connection, but then next to that, there's a little icon that looks like a satellite, and that is indicating I have the ability to send messages over the satellite connection. All right, so what I'm gonna do here is send a message to myself. These two phones have different phone numbers, but they're actually under the same iCloud account, so it's gonna look a little funny, but we're gonna walk through it. So as you can see, I just opened up my Apple messaging app, and right at the top, it says, check for messages and reply via satellite. It's giving me the option because it thinks I'm in the middle of nowhere with no cell phone connection. All right, so on the iPhone 15 here with no service, I've just opened up a text, and I'm gonna write one to myself. I'm just gonna write the word test from satellite to myself. If I try to send this message, you can see that the blue line will try to go across the top there, but eventually it's not going to go through because, again, there is no connection on this phone. However, if I swipe down from the top here and go into my connections menu, and then I look at the bottom there, you can see that it says satellite not connected. So I'm going to tap on that, and I'm gonna click on connect to satellite. Now it's gonna bring me to this screen where you've got an image of the globe. It's actually really cool looking. It shows a little gray dot there for my exact location, which is Massachusetts. And then below that, it shows me what I can do over satellite. I can send a message, I can use Find My to share my location, or I can ask for roadside assistance if my car's broken down. Now I'm gonna go ahead and click on Connect to Satellite, and what's gonna happen now is it's going to look for a satellite that's nearby. Keep in mind, I'm in a tree-covered area right now. There are probably a couple 100 feet tall pine trees all around me, so this is not a great situation for satellite communication, but we're gonna give it a shot anyways to give you a real-life example, and then we'll try it in a better location after this. All right, so what you can see here is my dot turned yellow, and that's indicating that I'm getting warmer. And now the phone is guiding me on how to establish a connection by turning my phone the direction of that arrow, which is to the left of me right now. And if I keep turning, eventually my dot turned green. So that means I've just established a connection with the satellite. So now I can click on messaging, and that'll bring me right back to that text I was trying to send. And we'll see what happens now. You can see the blue line is slowly creeping across the top there. I've got the text message open up on my other phone, so we gotta wait for that to come through, and we'll see how long it takes. Now again, while you're doing this, you do need to keep the connection alive by keeping the phone pointed in the right direction. And if you wanna check on the status of your connection, you can see right at the top of the screen there's a little island. It's got a green dot in it. If I click on that, you can see it gives me a little mini view of that map and the satellite connection. It's actually pretty cool. It's kind of like a video game. With that view of the satellite in the way, I can't really see what's going on with the message, so I'm gonna swipe that away for a second. We're gonna keep trying to send this. This is being sent as an iMessage, which is a little bit heavier than a standard SMS or RCS message. Oh, now it's telling me to turn around. What happened there was a better satellite became available. That's now in this direction. So I need to aim the phone this way to complete the message. All right, this is taking longer than I expected. So about 3-4 minutes later, I was able to send the message through. I lost the connection again. It actually sent through twice for some reason, a little bit of a glitch there. Anyways, the message did end up going through. So now that I've got the message through on my iPhone with the connection, I'm gonna write a reply and say, thanks. And we're gonna send it back through satellite. I got to turn around and establish a connection again. There we go. And look at that. That actually came through super quick. So the response back from the other iPhone to the satellite connected iPhone was really fast. So as you can see, it works, and it's actually like the first time you try it, it's kind of fun to keep the connection alive. It's kind of a game, but this also reflects my use case when I was actually running a 100-mile ultra marathon. I was trying to send and receive messages from my wife and my brother-in-law during that race. And this became a little bit frustrating because I found myself in dense tree cover like this, and in these kinds of situations, sending and receiving messages became a challenge, particularly when you're moving. Right now, I'm standing still, and that's why I'm able to establish connection. But as you can imagine, if I'm running along, this would be a lot harder to maintain. Okay, now that I've gone through a demonstration of Apple's satellite messaging, let's compare that to how the Garmin InReach Messenger works. So with this device, you do not need to aim at the sky. You don't get guidance on what direction to aim it. You can kind of just throw it in your backpack and it's gonna send and receive message passively. Keep in mind though, it does depend where you store this product. If you've got this at the bottom of your backpack underneath all of your tinfoil wrapped PB&J, it's not gonna get a good signal. So it's important to keep this in a good location on your pack. For the purpose of demonstrating the Garmin InReach, I'm gonna be using the Garmin Messenger app on my iPhone, and I'll be sending the message to my Google Pixel 9 Pro here because this has a different phone number. It's just like sending a text message to a random phone number. All right, so for this device, it's a lot less complicated. There's no aiming at the sky, like I said. So I'm just gonna go ahead and type the words, "This is a test." Then we're gonna go ahead and hit send. And I've got both phones screen recording. You're gonna hear a little chime come from the device itself. Takes a little bit of time. We're waiting. There it is. So as you can see, that just came in on the Google Pixel. And if I click in on that, you can see a couple of other test messages I was doing yesterday. It's got the message, it says this is a test, but along with the message, I also get a link that will bring me to my actual location where I'm standing right now. So included in your message is also your location, which is pretty cool. You can also toggle that on and off. If you look at the Garmin Messenger app there's a little icon for location. And again, there are some big perks to the Garmin InReach where you can actually share your location in real time with real-time tracking. And if you're doing like a thru hike or something like that, your friends and family can actually watch as you progress along your course, which is pretty cool. So as you can see, the Garmin InReach Messenger was much quicker. Let's be honest here. That took all of 20 seconds, 25 seconds to send the message from the InReach Messenger to my phone. And it was a lot less fuss. There was no aiming at the sky. There was a lot less confusion on what direction to go, whether or not the message sent, duplicate messages, like all that stuff did not happen with the InReach Messenger. So where does that leave us with Apple's satellite messaging feature? Again, this is in beta. It could become more reliable. It could become better over time, and it probably will. Right now, it's still pre-production, pre-release, beta form, so there are going to be quirks, and I totally get that. These are sort of the test results I expected because I've been using these in real time out at races and hiking and things like that. And generally speaking, the InReach is a more reliable experience when you're sending and receiving messages. With that being said, even the Garmin InReach isn't perfect. It's still something that takes time. It's not like having a 5G connection on your phone. At the end of the day, though, I do think we're comparing apples and oranges here. I do think there's still value in the Garmin InReach product. However, I do wish they would innovate a little bit more, update their website, and make the product generally just better because it's kind of frustrating to use and get set up. If you're an InReach user, you know what I'm talking about. I think it all boils down to this. If you are a hardcore outdoorsy hiker, adventurer, climber, alpinist, you know who you are. If you're that person, get a Garmin InReach. These things are awesome. There's other products out there like the Zoleo, the Motorola Defy, the InReach Messenger, the Mini 2, the Spot Gen X. Jumping back to what I said earlier, these devices are not always practical for everybody out there. If you're just somebody who adventures a couple of times a year, you're not like way off the beaten path, you're doing a sort of recreational hike that a lot of people do, that's where these iPhones with the satellite communication feature are pretty awesome. Because for the most part, there's a lot of iPhone users out there already. So if you've already got this thing in your pocket and you're in a situation where you are running late or you're setting up camp and you want to let somebody know, you can now send that message without having to go out and buy a $350 InReach along with a subscription. In either case, I just wanted to make a quick follow-up video to sort of demonstrate how these two different devices work, my experience with them so far, and what I think about them and their use cases. I hope you found it helpful, and if you did find it helpful, please consider going down, giving me a big old thumbs up, hitting that subscribe button down below because that really helps me out. Check out the links in the description of this video down below where you can pick up an iPhone 15 Pro, a Garmin InReach, or even a Google Pixel phone. I'll link everything down there. And on top of the product links, make sure to check out the links over to my other social media accounts, my Threads account, my Strava, and all of the other things down there, including my merch store where you can get a sweet shirt like this or a custom running hat. And with that, that's really all I've got for this one. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.